Welcome back. I trust that you listened to the um, Christ Letter 4E opening, which gives the starting place of where we're beginning, a meditation that begins about 8 minutes into the recording, gave some background into what we're going to be covering with this reading. And so with this, I'm just going to go right into the reading. But for me, I always want to take a time to just get centered and allow all that's taken place up to this now to just go away, which allows me to be in the stillness and silence, allowing me to be connected with that presence within me, the presence without me, as one presence, one Christ, one consciousness. And so as I read, I allow this universal one expressing through these words to share with us whatever is to be shared. And so we just let it be. Appreciate you being here with me and for this reading. Again, this will conclude letter 4 finally. And as I said in the opening, Christ really has a lot of importance on the male, female, masculine, feminine. So the better we understand it, the better we understand the creative process that he goes into in great depth and detail in letter 5. So the man's role is to provide physical security and material means of subsistence for the family. The woman's role is to provide emotional security and the emotional means of personal fulfillment and joy within the family environment. In the past, in the East and West, the male has exercised his role of dominance within the home, making the woman subservient and obedient to his will. In so doing, he has bent and distorted the energies of divine consciousness and channeled them through his mind and heart into a bent crystallization. He has also distorted the woman's consciousness by instilling in her a deep resentment of her subservient role, which she knows intuitively she should not be expected to endure. Therefore, he has created a degraded and degrading way of life for himself and partner, entirely in conflict with the nature of the source of being. So it's very important that we hear this, that all through this we're hearing the equality, that man should be respecting woman and woman should be respecting man. But as I say to so many, respect is something that is earned. It's not something that's just given. It's not something we're entitled to. So just because I call someone, so, well, I respect everyone, so that doesn't count. But in the Army, when I had to use sir, there were times that I said it sarcastically because I didn't think the person deserved that title that he was being bestowed from me. The fact that the female has had to exercise her masculine drives of aggression to express her equality of being, to achieve the respect due her within society, means that your civilization has become thoroughly de-established, I think it's supposed to be, de-established and unhealthy. The woman is usurping the male role out of desperation, but in doing so, she is defeating the intention behind creation. I'm struggling a little bit. I have new glasses and they're not quite lining up, so bear with me, please. Don't let it interfere with the words and the thoughts that are coming forth. Male and female have lost their way completely. In underdeveloped countries, people are only half alive, trying to solve the division between male and female through casual sex. As a result, man and woman become ever more divided and unfulfilled. Conflict in the family unit creates stress, misery, and separation, even though they may live under one roof. In developed countries, psychiatric offices are filled with unhappy people and children who say they do not know who they really are or what their purpose is in life. They're asking the experts, in quotes, who do not know the answers either. It should be remembered also that each person, male and female, have lessons to learn in life, which can only be learned in the sex and the race in which they find themselves. Therefore, a woman must accept her role in life as the provider of emotional love and security to her mate and children with self-respect and dignity, and perform it to the very best of her ability. She must recognize that the role of provider of emotional security is absolutely vital to society. She provides the glue of love and well-being, which holds families, cities, countries together. When she understands her true place and goals in society and seeks to perform and achieve them is the highest way possible, she is moving forward rapidly on the path of unconditional love and the highest rewards in personal fulfillment and happiness. She will also move on to a higher level of consciousness, perhaps as a male in her next incarnation, who will bring great benefits to mankind. And I feel so balanced with my masculine and feminine that I feel I probably was female in my past incarnation because I'm so sensitive not only to the female, but to that feminine nature of my own being, that I didn't let the bullies take that away from me. They tried, Dad tried, but it doesn't work because I was very self-assured. Similarly, spiritually, whoops, I'm on a stool that, interesting. Similarly, spiritually evolved males, even spiritual teachers, return to life on earth to learn the humility and to put all their high principles of existence into daily practice as a loving woman who mothers with wisdom and nurtures all who have need of what she can offer. Where then is the inequality? Remove the scales from your limited sight and intellect and see with clear vision that there should be no inequality, only shared intentions to express all that you have both drawn from divine consciousness in the most spiritual way to achieve the highest happiness possible on earth. And that when we find that balance within ourselves, we automatically attain this joy, this inherent joy that is ours to share. But while we're in conflict with these aspects of ourselves, that conflict remains. And that's what Christ is attempting to do for us, is to bring us into the balance of the masculine and feminine, recognizing, oh yeah, I have this role that could be called masculine. Yes, I have these roles that are considered feminine, but they both coexist within me and within everyone. And then they outpicture in the actual roles that we play in partnership. In years to come, when a man and woman have evolved spiritually, if or when divided in attention, they will together take their intentions to Father, Mother, Divine Consciousness, asking, quote, what is to be created in our circumstance? What is our best way ahead? When they have received answers, they will accept them with a loving heart and pool them. Any differences in answer will be respected and again taken to divine consciousness with the same request until they reach sincere consensus. Isn't that beautiful? This is why I say confrontation is so important. Not confrontation the way that we experience it. I'll just go off on that a little bit because it's so important to us. That many people see confrontation as when we can't take something anymore and we lash out, we defend, we are aggressive to whoever is causing that discomfort. But Jesus constantly shows us in the Gospels how to confront, and that's just speak the truth. That's all. We don't have to defend it. We don't have to push it. We just speak the truth. And if it's not heard, we speak the truth again, or to know when to be silent. So Christ is encouraging us, and I'm encouraging us by the end of this year, 2018, if we can get this masculine feminine resolved within our own selves, and then resolve that in any relationship we're in, especially a significant other and or children in the family unit, when we can bring these into balance, we will be more whole than if we keep them at bay, keep them separate, keep them feeling embarrassed or ashamed or any of those kind of things that society likes to put on us. Together, man and woman will then return and ask of divine consciousness how may we best achieve our purposes. And again, they pool their answers and continue asking until they finally arrive at a working plan which has been conceived not in the human brain alone, but in the highest dimension of creativity, divine consciousness. Working together in this way, they eventually experience the bliss of true unity of soul, mind, heart, and body. So I'm going to go back to the paragraph above. If you're not reading along, it's all bolded. And Christ does the typing things to draw our attention. So this is all bolded. It says, working together in this way, this is the partners having a challenge, conflict, whatever, and instead of arguing or so forth, they both go individually to meditation, to connect with the Father for ideas, alternatives, possible solutions. What's my responsibility? All these things. And so when the two do that and then they come back together again, they share what they've learned. And if there's still not consensus, then they go back again, or one will, So it's a mature way for us to handle relationships. And Christ has a wonderful exercise for us in letter 6 on how to deal with conflict in relationship. So again, working together in this way, they will eventually experience the bliss of true unity of soul, mind, heart, and body. And that's the marriage of the masculine with the feminine. Spirit, soul, mind, body, emotions, all that is all, it's like the fragments now come to the center of their being from which they all came from. Finally, the male could not exist comfortably without also experiencing and manifesting some of the feminine drive. Okay, hear that, men. Finally, the male could not exist comfortably without also experiencing and manifesting some of the feminine drive. So intuition is considered a feminine drive. Feeling is a feminine drive. Spirituality is a feminine drive. The both and logic versus the either or logic is feminine. So there's a lot of the feminine that the male of us needs to get in touch with, because that keeps us confined in this state of male only without allowing the balance of the other aspect of us, the other part of the creative process. One is the initiator, the other is that which brings it into form. Okay? So finally, the male could not exist comfortably without also experiencing and manifesting some of the feminine drive. He needs emotion to bond with his wife, children, and other relationships. Schoolmates and workmates, colleagues and friends. Without some warm feelings, he would be a cold monster. And we see a lot of that. I see a lot of that. Frequently, and all I know is it's someone who doesn't know themselves. That's the way I deal with when judgment comes to me. There are many ways I deal with it, but one is they just don't know who they are. Jesus said it beautifully, Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. And so this is true of everyone, including ourselves. Until we become conscious, we really don't know what we're doing. We know our excuses, we know the why and all that behind it, but we're not open to there's a different way to do it. And that's what the letters are about. Frequently, if an old soul He brings much warmth and caring from previous incarnations as a woman. The more spiritually evolved he becomes, the more equally are the two sexual impulses balanced within his nature. Okay, and we don't have to wait for lifetimes for this. Um, there's something in the twinkling of an eye, in the understanding we can get it. So that's, I'm always looking for now. I'm not looking for down the road. I'm not looking for next year, next month, next century. Okay, now is the moment that I can create world peace. Now is the moment you can create world peace. And every now moment we put one on top of the other, the easier and easier it gets for us. And we attract people of like mind, and together we form a community of beautiful people, just being ourselves. So that's what our Tuesday night call is all about. Okay, so as we know this about the man recognizing and evolving into his feminine, the same also is applied to woman. Equally, the female could not exist comfortably without some of the masculine drive. Without a capacity for intelligent planning, her household would be a disaster zone. There's also the possibility that she has been a strong masculine character in her past incarnation and is uncomfortable in the feminine role of sacrificing herself for others. Such a one must ask of divine consciousness to clarify her vision, that she may see that without love for humanity, leadership is a dangerous exercise. Okay. Such a one who's relying more on her masculine nature to get ahead, and I've seen that in the corporate world. The women basically had to be very aggressive and very male in order to be accepted into that echelon of the hierarchy of the company. Um, but there were those who maintained, as I call it, their femininity. They still dressed as a woman. They presented themselves as a woman. They weren't behind any mask. And those are the ones that I really respect because of being authentic. And it's their authenticity that is being acknowledged by the upper echelons that are promoted to that position. So this is a very important sentence. Such a one must ask of divine consciousness to clarify her vision, that she may see that without love for humanly leadership, it's a dangerous exercise. Now, let's do it totally from the male. That's why when we look at the world, it's pretty much dominated by men, created by men, and without that, the feminine characteristic, although it's there, but it wasn't availed to the man because he's only thinking male way, you know. So until we open ourselves, we men open ourselves to listen for the feminine, listen to a softer way, a way that brings harmony instead of conflict, we get the same answers that our female counterparts also get. So when men, oops, it's plural, when men and women are nearing an equal balance of male and female natures within themselves, their task in life is to transcend their sexual drive through achieving unconditional love for all people and directing the drive itself into pure creativity. Such as the ants. Yep, that's what he says. Oh, such as the arts. I'm sorry, such as the arts. Of such people are masters made, masters of themselves, master of creativity, masters of human consciousness, master of matter. Okay, and that's what we are becoming. On Tuesday nights when we go through the letters, sometimes there's more dialogue than others because we're finding these letters assisting us in recognizing something of our past that Christ's letter addresses where it can be healed. So it's if you can make a Tuesday night call, and if you don't have information, it's chapelinthesky@aol.com. No punctuation, just CHAPELINTHESKY@aol.com. Okay. I'm going to reread this because the Tuesday night group, which again I'm so proud of because they're maintaining the community, they're taking on leadership role, um, and it's in doing that we learn how to do it, and it gives us confidence because we know it's not us. As we align ourselves with the Christ and let Christ do it, Christ becomes a leader of whoever is talking, whoever's asking the question. So all I'm saying is Christ keeps talking about the future, and it may not be Christ, or maybe we're evolving faster, but I believe we can do this really quick. And I think the key is to um, bring Christianity to the understanding that Jesus represents the Father. It's the Father that we need to be getting in touch with, because that's what Christ is saying. We call it Christ, but Jesus called it the Father, so. Okay, so of such people, of such committed people to ourselves, who bring ourselves into that balance, are open to it, we become masters. Okay, of such are masters made. And I claim this for everyone, myself and everyone listening, everyone on our call on Tuesday. I consider a master because as long as we're following this path, um, we can get everything we need to become the master of our lives. Jesus tells us in page 1 of letter 1 that this could be considered a course in self-mastery. So, okay. Unfortunately, at this present time, your men and women who are nearing equal balance of male/female natures within their one nature have no guidepost as to what their true goals should be. They have lost their way and have created a spurious society amongst themselves in which the joy and personal fulfillment they seek is negated by the preoccupation with bodily functions rather than with spiritual achievements. They will remain unhappy people, torn with conflicts, until they discover the truth regarding who they really are. And Christ telling us this is why I, Christ, am spending so much time with this, because when humanity gets this and finds the transformation of that conflict, the transmutation of that conflict to become two sides of the same coin, when we find that within ourselves, we find that everywhere outside of us. And that's what the creation is all about. There's two sides opposing, they're both repelling and attracting each to the other with this magnetic energy that cannot stop. So, but that's what we get into in letter 5. Okay. In speaking about the feminine role in life, it must also be said that many of your modern women in developed countries have achieved a high degree of masculine drive in the past 100 years. They must choose their priorities in life carefully. They do not have to sit at home, stagnant and bored, but they will become happier, more fulfilled people if they turn their intelligence and abilities to creating new modes of constructive life for the whole family. At the moment, they may not know how to do this, but meditation will draw into their minds the necessary inspiration on the best way to use their powers of leadership and talents for the happiness of all. Why have we, and earlier in this letter, Christ was identifying himself that he said, I could call myself Muhammad as much as call myself Jesus. That he is the Christ of all the masters. It's, all masters are the Christ, and they still maintain some sort of individuality within that, yet they're all in harmonious cooperative coexistence, assisting our world. Christ is talking not only to Jesus, to the Christians, primarily it is, and talks a little bit to the Jews. I forget where it's going with that, but ultimately he's talking to you and me. I came to talk to you directly, he says in the introduction. And the way to do it is to have a communion, one with another. Where two or more are gathered in my name, the Christ of you, the Christ of me is one Christ. Christ is in the midst of us, around us, even now in this moment. So we are blessed. And going back to the woman who has to be masculine, they must choose their priorities in life carefully. Oh, I guess I read that. Yes, okay. Okay, men who have developed greater capacity for empathy with women and their fellow men will also, through meditation followed by inspiration, find higher ways of expressing their capacity for leadership in their work, bringing happiness to others. The people who are bossy. I don't work for bossy people. So, and again, our attitude is all we have to do. That's all we have to work on. And I have many stories about that. Oh, here's where I started. Why have we? So he's bringing all the consciousness now. Okay, if you're Christian, you're hearing me through Jesus. If you're Muslim, you're hearing me from Muhammad. If you're Buddhist, you're hearing me through the Buddha. Whatever the leadership of our path is, that's who Christ is talking to, because it's the Christ of all. Why have we dealt with this matter of the sexes in such depth? This has been absolutely necessary, since a battle of the sexes, both in the East and West, is creating unhealthy conditions on Earth. It fosters aggression and festers in anger and hostility. Sexual freedom has brought the world to a crisis point of extinction by the impregnation of AIDS. All viruses are created within destructive consciousness forces. Again, the consciousness for AIDS existed before AIDS. And fortunately, that appears to be under control. So, you must understand that human beings have created their own viruses. Every virus is a destructive living consciousness impulse made visible. Okay? Every virus is a destructive living consciousness impulse made visible. Okay, so first that consciousness destructive impulse has to exist. That's the intention of this virus coming into creation. Comes into creation to perform that task. Now, who gives it that task? Ultimately, we are the ones. We are the ones that offer the opportunity for that destructive disease to happen, because I'm not thinking healthy. I'm not aligned healthily. So just things to think about. You must understand that human beings have created their own viruses. Every virus is a destructive living consciousness impulse made visible. It targets what the impulse of destructive consciousness targeted at the moment of the virus took on form. I was very clear about this aspect of an existence. I was very clear about this aspect of existence when I was on earth in the persona of Jesus. The Jews had the rigid tradition, washing cups before drinking from them. I told them explicitly that they should not be worried about what went into their mouths, and hearts. Now, they should not worry about what went into their mouths. They should be concerned about what came out of their minds and hearts, then out through their mouths. At that time, science had not discovered the presence of viruses, but it was agreed that a disease came from existing. I'm sorry, it's gotten dark in here. I'm going to, yeah, some light. I think that's going to make a big difference. Thank you. Let's see. Okay, I'll go back to the beginning of the paragraph. I was very clear about this aspect of existence when I was on earth in the persona of Jesus. The Jews had the rigid tradition of washing cups before drinking from them. I told them explicitly that they should not be worried about what went into their mouths. They should be concerned about what came out of their minds and hearts, then out through their mouths. At that time, science had not discovered the presence of viruses, but it was agreed that disease came from eating and drinking from dirty utensils. But I knew that the disease had originally come out of the minds and hearts of savagely angry people. Okay, wow. As many times I've read this, it never, wow, came to me so clearly what Christ is saying here, you know. So this is why thinking this way is so important, because as we think clearly, as we think from the consciousness of us, it's always blessing us. It's always seeing good. It's always seeing perfection. It's always creating the highest and best good for the individual and all around us. So it's good to be in this consciousness, and then our lives truly are joyful. Thereafter was propagated by the division of the cells, but it carried within itself forever the instinct and consciousness which initially brought it into being. AIDS has been no accident, as it emerged from the consciousness forces of self-indulgence and destructive emotional reactions between sexual partners. Submerged hatred and anger can drive people into a sexual act, leaving a residue of sickness behind it in mind, emotions, and body. Wow, that's very, Christ talks more about this in, I believe it's letter 6. Submerged hatred and anger can drive people into a sexual act, leaving a residue of sickness behind it in mind, emotions, and body. Okay, consciously, there's a song, everywhere I go, I leave a little bit of me behind. That's true. Consciously, we're infinite being. So wherever we go, our consciousness is there. It remains as long as it's, I don't know, it remains anyway. People can tap into it anytime. Therefore, when followers of Islam condemn the West for their lax sexual behavior and perversion, they are right to believe that it is bringing down unhealthy conditions on earth. Oh, I skipped a paragraph, very important one. Okay, I skipped a lot, pardon me. Okay. Because emotional attunement has not always motivated the sexual act between men and women, they have known severe disappointment and lack of release and fulfillment. When this happens, the male sexual energy dwindles. It has to be rekindled by images of sexual perversions. As a result, pornography has become big business in some countries. It panders to the body instincts alone. Out of pornography have come a lack of respect for women and a mechanical, non-emotional sexual act, together with rapidly increasing rape and child sexual abuse. Christ is right on the money, isn't he? People giving way to these abnormal acts, abominable acts of depraved cruelty will surely reap the consequences either in this life or a future incarnation. Therefore, when followers of Islam condemns the West for their lack sexual behavior and perversion, they are right to believe that it is bringing down unhealthy conditions on earth. Sorry for the repeat. These unhealthy conditions are not sent by Allah, but are a natural consequence of their breaking the laws of existence. Similarly, the followers of Islam are breaking the laws of existence because they, like the Jews, hold to the tradition of an eye for an eye and believe that there is no such thing as that there is such a thing as a holy war. There is no such thing as a holy war. There is only the reality of holy forgiveness and holy reconciliation. Treating your brother, be he your enemy or friend, with love and understanding. None of you may break the laws of existence and hope that you may enter into the kingdom of heaven or paradise. Your behavior has no place beyond the mayhem you're presently bringing on yourselves. We, the collective brotherhood, we will leave you with these thoughts, which we beg you will receive deeply into your consciousness and make good use of them in your daily lives. We strongly urge you to band together, irrespective of religious beliefs, in small groups, to use the letters as guidelines for your daily lives. Shed, if you can, your conditioning and come together in true humility as people willing to agree they know little of the true spirituality, but are strongly desirous of learning how to enhance and spiritualize our lives. As many of you are aware, you are entering a new phase of world history, during the course of which it will be realized that no longer is the great divide between the wealthy and the poor. The great divide will be in consciousness. The divide will be between those who have been able to find entrance into the higher spiritual consciousness and radiate love and acceptance equally to all, friends and foes, and who make it their goal to radiate divine consciousness into every facet of their daily lives, and those who remain encased within their ego drives, seeking dominion of the weak. They may appear to be successful for a while, but eventually they will fail, and their suffering in their self-created darkness will be great. These letters, this is only the law. This isn't like God punishing. This is just the law. What we give out, we get back. What we sow, we reap, in accordance with our thoughts and our feelings. These letters are the means to your moving out of your destructive into the light. As you seek to raise your frequencies of spiritual consciousness through radiating love to all unconditionally, so would you be going through a slow ascension in consciousness, which will dynamically affect your physical health and your earthly conditions. Oh, you brave people. On, you brave people, rests the upliftment of world consciousness. You emerge from the coming conflict strong and purposeful, and will proceed to build another type of world consciousness. You will introduce the beginning of spiritual and technical and economic progress and world peace for centuries to come. I, the Christ, have spoken. We, the Brotherhood of Masters, speak to Christians, Muslims, Buddhists, Jews, Hindus, Sufis, and to every religious persuasion of the world. You are all encompassed in our love. Believe this, for this is true. So I just ask you to replay that. That's quite a piece. Okay. Okay, well, that's it for letter 4. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for bearing with me with all the interruptions, although you may not have seen them, but you just see that, but minutes sometimes pass in between. So it's been a busy day, but I really wanted to commit to getting this done and get it out to those who want to see the end of letter 4. So trust you have a blessed day and a blessed week, blessed month, blessed year, and yeah, this year for world peace. So bring it forth. God bless you.